These girls make more than they deserve anyway.
What kind of manager steals from her own employees?
I can't pay Maya's rent. I don't know what to do anymore.
What can we even do?
Nothing. She has all the power. Who's gonna believe her? I've already written 3 fake reports. Paper is paper.
I think there's been a mistake. The mistake was thinking you could steal from my employee.
These girls make more than they're worth.
Denise Carter, you're fired. And the police are already on their way.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to continue the story. At Black Voice Stories, every story reveals a deeper truth about life, courage, and humanity. Subscribe now, and let's continue this incredible journey together.
Ignition. These girls make more than they deserve anyway. Marcus Coleman pauses with his fork halfway to his mouth when he hears it. Ignition. The billionaire owner of Coleman Hospitality Group sits in booth 7 of his own restaurant, watching shift supervisor Denise Carter slide a folded 20 into the front pocket of her apron. Ignition. Across the room, server Angela Brooks wipes down a table with hands that won't quite stay steady. Ignition. Her tip jar holds $4 and some loose change. Ignition. $41 has vanished from her section in the last hour alone. Ignition. Marcus sets his fork down slowly. He doesn't reach for his phone yet. Ignition. Not yet. He just watches. Angela Brooks had clocked in at 5:42 that morning, 11 minutes early, because the bus from her apartment off Bankhead Highway ran ahead of schedule for once. Ignition. She is 29 years old, raising a 6-year-old daughter named Maya on her own since the father stopped sending anything 2 winters ago. Ignition. The rent on her unit is $890 a month. Today is the 3rd. Ignition. Marcus Coleman had not planned to be at this particular diner. Ignition. He owns 41 locations across the Southeast under the Sunrise Kitchen name, and the rule he set for himself 11 years ago, back when Sunrise Kitchen was a single 14-table dining room and not a chain, was that he would never tell his regional managers when he was coming. Ignition. He picked this address off Cascade Road in southwest Atlanta at random that morning, the way he sometimes does, because his mother used to say, a business shows its true face to the customer nobody recognizes. Ignition. His mother, Ruthie Coleman, waited tables for 31 years at 3 different diners in 3 different decades, and she raised Marcus on the tips other people decided she didn't deserve. Ignition. He chose a window booth and ordered black coffee and a short stack, nothing more, because he wasn't hungry. Ignition. He was curious. Within 9 minutes, the curiosity had curdled into something else entirely. Ignition. Angela moves between her 6 tables with the kind of practiced rhythm that only comes from doing something exhausting for years. Ignition. She refills coffee before anyone has to ask. She remembers that the construction crew at table 9 likes extra cream, and that the elderly man by the window takes his eggs over medium, not over easy, because over easy makes him nervous about the yolk. Ignition. She smiles at every single person who walks through that door, even at 6 a.m. Ignition. Even on the 3rd of the month, Denise Carter runs the morning shift like a small, furious kingdom. Ignition. She is 44, her braids always freshly done, her uniform pressed in a way that suggests she irons it the night before. Ignition. She has worked at this location for 6 years and was promoted to floor supervisor 2 years ago, a promotion Marcus remembers approving from a stack of regional paperwork because her numbers looked clean and her write-ups were glowing. Ignition. Angela, Denise's voice cuts through the clatter of the breakfast rush. Ignition. Table 6 needs their check. Table 11's been waiting on coffee. Ignition. Move. Angela apologizes to no one in particular and hurries off, taking the blame for delays that were never hers to own. Ignition. Marcus watches the pattern settle into place over the next 20 minutes the way a chemist watches a slow reaction in a beaker. Ignition. Denise gives herself the easy regulars, the ones who tip flat dollar amounts and never complain. Ignition. Angela gets the families with toddlers, the rushed businessmen, the difficult orders. Ignition. And every single time a generous tip lands on one of Angela's tables, Denise appears within seconds, smiling, palm already extended. Ignition. At table 4, a man in a city transit uniform leaves $11 on a $9 check. Ignition. Angela's whole face lights up when she clears the plate and sees it tucked under the saucer. Ignition. Denise materializes before Angela has even picked the bill up off the table. Ignition. I'll take that one. New cash handling policy. Corporate wants tips logged through me for the tax audit. Ignition. There is no such policy. Marcus wrote the current employee handbook himself 3 printings ago, and it says in plain language that tips belong to the server who earned them, full stop, no exceptions, no manager pooling without written consent from every employee on shift. Ignition. Denise tucks the $11 into her apron with the casual confidence of someone who has never once been questioned. Ignition. Marcus's phone buzzes. A text from his assistant, Priya, asking if he's still planning to call into the 9 o'clock investor briefing. Ignition. He doesn't answer it. He can't look away from booth 6, where Angela is laughing politely at a customer's joke while $41 of her morning's earnings sits zipped inside another woman's apron pocket. Ignition. By 7:40, the pattern has a name in Marcus's head, theft with a script. Ignition. Denise has an excuse rehearsed and ready for every denomination. Ignition. Under $10, it's company policy on small bills. Over 20, it's corporate wants large tips documented for taxes. Ignition. She never raises her voice unless Angela hesitates. And when Angela hesitates, Denise raises it just enough that 2 or 3 nearby tables can hear. Just enough to make compliance look like good manners and resistance look like an attitude problem. Ignition. At table 12, an older woman finishes a complicated breakfast: eggs, scrambled extra dry, bacon nearly burnt, 3 substitutions Angela never once complained about, and leaves a $20 bill folded under her mug. Ignition. Sweetheart, you made my whole morning, the woman tells Angela, patting her hand. Ignition. Angela's eyes well up a little. $20 is groceries. Ignition. $20 is the difference between Maya having juice boxes in her lunch this week or not. Ignition. Denise is there before Angela can even pick up the mug. Ignition. Big tip like that needs manager sign-off and liability. Ignition. She slides the bill free with 2 fingers and walks off toward the register, counting it as she goes, not even bothering to lower her voice. Ignition. Marcus watches Angela's shoulders fold inward. It is such a small motion, barely a flinch, but he has spent 11 years building a company on the idea that small motions like that one are exactly what a CEO is supposed to notice and never does. Ignition. He thinks about his mother's voice in his ear, decades old now, but never faded. Baby, you watch how a person treats somebody who can't fight back. Ignition. That'll tell you their whole character before they ever open their mouth again. Ignition. At 8:05, the breakfast rush peaks, and Marcus sees something that finally moves his hand toward his phone, not to text Priya back, but to open the voice memo app and press record, the screen angled discreetly against his coffee cup. Ignition. A young father at table 8 is trying to manage 2 squirming twin girls, maybe 6 years old, crayons and napkins scattered across the table. Ignition. Angela brings extra crayons without being asked, wipes up a spilled cup of orange juice without a sigh, and spends a full minute crouched at the girls' eye level admiring their pancake-shaped drawings. Ignition. Tell the nice lady thank you. The father tells his daughters as he counts out bills carefully, the kind of careful that means he's watching his budget. Ignition. He leaves $18 on a $31 check. Ignition. Generous for a man in a faded Carhartt jacket and steel-toed boots that have seen better years. Ignition. Thank you, the girls say in unison. You are so welcome, sweet things, Angela tells them, and for 1 second, the first time all morning, her smile reaches all the way to her eyes. Ignition. The family leaves. Angela starts clearing the table, and when she finds the $18 tucked beneath a napkin, she actually laughs, a small, surprised sound, and presses the bills flat against her palm like she's trying to make the moment last. Ignition. Denise's voice arrives like a blade. Angela, bring that here. Ignition. Anything over 15 needs to go through me now. Ignition. Denise, it's $18. Are you questioning policy? Denise says it loud. Ignition. Loud enough that 2 tables turn their heads. Because questioning management in front of customers is a write-up, sweetheart. Ignition. Maybe 2. Angela's hands start to shake. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean... Ignition. Maybe you're not cut out for this. Denise counts the bills slow, deliberate, savoring it. Ignition. Some people just don't understand how a business runs. Ignition. Marcus's coffee cup creaks under his grip. He doesn't say anything. Ignition. Not yet. He watches Angela retreat behind the coffee station, duck her head, and wipe at her eyes fast, the kind of quick, practiced motion of someone who has learned exactly how to cry without anyone seeing her do it. Because crying at work gets you labeled unstable, and unstable gets you fired. Ignition, and fired means Maya doesn't eat. Ignition. He catalogs everything, the targeting of one employee, the audience chosen for every humiliation. Ignition. The way Denise has built a small empire on the idea that nobody underneath her will ever have the proof, the courage, or the resources to push back. Ignition. At table 15, a man in a gray suit snaps his fingers at Angela for a coffee refill, doesn't say thank you, doesn't tip a dime. Ignition. Denise watches from the register with something close to satisfaction on her face, a system working exactly as she designed it. Ignition. Marcus notices the cook, a heavyset man named Walter, glance toward Angela with something like concern, and then look away fast, back to his grill, because self-preservation in a place like this is its own survival skill. Ignition. He notices a younger server, Brianna, keep her body angled away from the whole scene entirely. Ignition. Everybody in this diner knows. Nobody feels safe enough to do anything about it. Ignition. At 8:20, the rush winds down, and Denise delivers what Marcus will later think of as the morning's final cruelty. Ignition. Your section's a mess, she tells Angela, loud enough for the lingering customers. Ignition. Syrup on 6, crumbs on 12. Maybe if you focused more on the actual job and less on she lets the sentence hangs, other things, your performance might improve. Ignition. Angela's face burns. She grabs a rag and re-wipes tables that are already clean while 3 customers watch with the particular discomfort of people who know they're witnessing something they shouldn't and won't do anything about it either. Ignition. Marcus pays his check. He leaves a $20 bill on the table, then sits back to watch what happens, already knowing. Ignition. Angela spots it, her face lifts. Denise is there in 4 seconds flat. Ignition. I'll grab that one too. Large bills, remember. $20 is not by any definition that exists outside this diner a large bill. Ignition. Angela doesn't argue anymore. She just nods, and something behind her eyes goes quiet in a way that makes Marcus's chest ache. Ignition. He walks out without revealing who he is. In the parking lot, sitting in his car, he plays back the voice memo once, just to be sure his ears didn't invent any of it. Ignition. They didn't. His phone rings. Priya sounding worried. Marcus, the investor call starts in 20 minutes. Where are? Ignition. Push it to Thursday. The board's going to ask questions. Ignition. Then I'll answer them Thursday. Something came up that can't wait. Ignition. He hangs up before she can argue and sits there a long moment looking at the diner's front window, at the faint shape of Angela moving behind the glass, still working, still smiling at strangers. Ignition. Completely unaware that the man who signs every paycheck in this building just watched someone steal her dignity in real time and didn't stop it. Ignition. He sits in that parking lot for almost 20 minutes before he can make himself turn the key. Ignition. Through the windshield, the diner's neon sign flickers against the gray morning sky, the letters BREAKFAST glowing the same warm orange they probably glowed the day this location opened 9 years ago. Ignition. He remembers standing on this exact sidewalk back then, shaking hands with the very first manager he ever hired, promising himself that no Sunrise Kitchen would ever become the kind of place his own mother spent 3 decades surviving instead of working. Ignition. He thinks about Ruthie Coleman's hands. The way they used to shake a little by the end of a double shift, not from age but from exhaustion, and how she would still count out her tips on the kitchen table every single night with a kind of careful, reverent attention most people reserve for prayer. Ignition. Some nights it was $11, some nights it was $40. Ignition. She never once complained that it wasn't enough, because complaining cost something she couldn't afford to spend. Ignition. She just made it stretch, the same way Angela is probably making $41 stolen to stretch right now in her head, except Angela doesn't even get the dignity of deciding how. Ignition. He calls his attorney, Renata Diaz, from the car. I need to know something, he tells her. Ignition. If a manager is taking tips directly out of a server's hands and lying about, why is that just a firing, or is that something worse? Ignition. Depends on the documentation, Renata says. Tip theft is wage theft under Georgia and federal law. Ignition. If you can show pattern, intent, and amount, you're not just talking termination. Ignition. You're talking criminal exposure and civil liability. How much proof do I need? Ignition. Enough that a defense attorney can't call it a misunderstanding. Ignition. Recordings, repetition, ideally her saying the quiet part out loud. Ignition. Marcus looks back at the diner one more time. Ignition. I can get that. He drives home, changes out of his tailored coat into a faded flannel shirt, work boots, a Braves cap pulled low, and a pair of reading glasses he doesn't need. Ignition. He lets 3 days of stubble grow before he goes back. Ignition. It is not a perfect disguise. It doesn't need to be perfect. Ignition. It needs to be enough that a tired, overworked, underpaid woman serving 40 tables a shift doesn't look twice at a customer's face. Ignition. He returns the next morning at 6:50, sits in a corner booth with a clean sightline to the register, and orders the same thing he ordered the day before, like a stranger discovering his new favorite diner. Ignition. Angela doesn't recognize him. Exhaustion has its own kind of blindness, and the disguise does the rest. Ignition. Morning special's good today, she tells him, voice warm despite the circles under her eyes. Ignition. Eggs, bacon, toast, $7.99. Sounds perfect, he says. Ignition. You been here long? 3 years now. The answer comes automatic, protective, the way people who need their job learn to talk to strangers. Ignition. It's good work. Over the next 4 days, Marcus watches the theft escalate in ways he hadn't even imagined possible from one morning's observation. Ignition. He sees Denise take $8 from a nurse rushing to her shift, 15 from a retired couple who praised Angela's patience with a complicated order, 12 from a young father grateful for how she handled his fussy toddler, each theft wrapped in a different lie, delivered with the same unshaken confidence. Ignition. He sees Denise schedule Angela for a double shift with no warning and no break, then disappear for 2 hours to a nail appointment while Angela works alone through both the breakfast and lunch rush. Ignition. He hears her invent a fake register shortage out of thin air and use it to justify confiscating a $12 tip that had nothing to do with any register at all. Ignition. Angela's drawer, he later confirms by checking the books himself, balanced perfectly that entire week. Ignition. He hears Denise manufacture a customer complaint that never happened, then use the imaginary complaint to justify giving Angela the worst sections and the rudest tables for 3 straight days. Ignition. On the 4th morning, Marcus positions himself near the cracked door of the cramped office behind the kitchen and listens to Denise talking to a part-time weekend supervisor named Cody. Ignition. These girls make more in tips than they're worth, Denise tells him, her voice low but not low enough. Ignition. Angela's pulling $250, $300 a week just carrying plates. Ignition. Meanwhile, I'm putting in 60 hours holding this whole place together. Ignition. Corporate doesn't understand real restaurant math. Her tips are basically profit margin that should go back into running this place, not some single mom's shopping money. Ignition. Cody hesitates. That seems like a lot to take from one person. Ignition. What's she gonna do, report me? No proof. Ignition. No evidence. It's her word against a 6-year manager with a clean file. Ignition. And if she ever does try anything, I've already got 3 write-ups in her folder for attitude and tardiness. Ignition. None of it's even real. Doesn't have to be. Paper's paper. Ignition. Marcus's hands go very still around his phone. Ignition. The office is barely big enough for the desk crammed into it, and through the thin paneling Marcus can hear the scrape of a chair, the rustle of a cash drawer being pulled open, the particular crinkle of bills being counted by someone who has done it enough times to do it without looking. Ignition. He presses himself flatter against the wall outside, his coffee cup long gone cold in his other hand, and listens to a woman casually dismantle another human being's livelihood as if she were reading off a grocery list. Ignition. This is from last week, Denise tells Cody, and Marcus can hear the drawer slide shut. Ignition. $218. Angela earned every dime of it pouring coffee, and I'm reallocating it toward operational expenses. Ignition. Operational expenses like what? Cody asks, and for a second there's something almost like real curiosity in his voice, the sound of a young man trying to decide whether what he's hearing is normal. Ignition. My expenses, gas, work clothes. I run this whole location, so what I do with discretionary funds is my call. Ignition. A pause then, lighter, almost amused. Don't look at me like that. Ignition. You'll understand once you've actually managed people for a while, instead of just clocking in. Ignition. A call comes in for Denise. Regional Director Patricia Coles, congratulating her on labor costs that are running below every other location in the district, mentioning, almost in passing, that corporate is considering her for a district promotion. Ignition. I've just optimized a few things, Denise tells Patricia after hanging up on Marcus's recording. Ignition. Streamlined tip distribution. Productivity stuff. Marcus feels something cold settle in his stomach. Ignition. Denise hasn't just been stealing from Angela. She's been rewarded for it, promoted, praised, dangled a bigger title because theft, dressed up in the right vocabulary, looks identical to good management on a spreadsheet. Ignition. Then he hears the call that turns his stomach for an entirely different reason. Ignition. Denise dials another Sunrise Kitchen location across town. Hey, it's Denise. Ignition. Quick question, how do you handle a server pulling too much in tips? Ignition. Throwing off my labor numbers over here. Marcus sits with that for a long moment after the call ends. Ignition. Angela Brooks is not the only victim. She is simply the one he happened to witness. Ignition. The final morning, a Sunday, brings the moment that breaks something open in Marcus's chest for good. Ignition. A family of 8 comes in to celebrate a grandmother's 83rd birthday special requests, seating changes, a cake they brought in themselves that Angela helps cut and serve with more patience than the situation strictly required. Ignition. The family leaves $50 on the table, the largest tip Marcus has seen all week, and for 1 second Angela's whole face opens up with relief before Denise swoops in and takes it, citing a documentation policy that exists nowhere but in her own head. Ignition. Angela disappears into the restroom for a few minutes. When she comes back, her eyes are red, but she keeps working, professional down to the bone even while she is being systematically dismantled. Ignition. Later, during a lull, Marcus overhears her talking to Walter the cook in a voice that barely carries. Ignition. She took it again, Angela whispers. I can't make rent this month. Ignition. Maya's almost out of her inhaler refill, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Ignition. Talk to corporate. Walter offers, though he doesn't sound like he believes it himself. Ignition. With what proof? It's my word against a manager's. Angela's laugh has no humor in it at all. Ignition. And who's gonna hire a single mom with no references if she decides to make sure I don't get any? Ignition. You're not wrong about any of this, Walter says quietly. Ignition. But what can we even do? Nothing. That's the whole problem. Ignition. She's got all the power, and we just have to take it. Ignition. Marcus stops recording. He doesn't need any more. He has theft, intimidation, falsified write-ups, a confession of intent, evidence the scheme may stretch across multiple locations, and now Angela's own voice describing the trap she believes she's locked inside with no way out. Ignition. He drives home that night and doesn't sleep much. Monday morning, 8:15. Ignition. The breakfast rush is at its peak when Marcus walks back into the diner one final time, still in disguise, and orders his coffee from Angela like every other morning that week. Ignition. Rough one? He asks gently, watching her count change with hands that look more tired than they did 4 days ago. Ignition. Just busy, she says, forcing a smile. Nothing I can't handle. Ignition. At 8:30, Denise for a $15 tip left on table 6. Ignition. Marcus stands up. Excuse me. His voice carries across the suddenly quiet dining room. Ignition. I think there's been a mistake. Denise freezes, hands still hovering over the bill. Ignition. I'm sorry? Marcus removes his cap, his reading glasses. Ignition. Forks stop moving, conversations die mid-sentence. Angela, holding a coffee pot 3 tables away, goes completely still. Ignition. The mistake, Marcus says, walking toward the register, was thinking you could steal from my employees without consequences. Ignition. Denise's face drains of color. I don't understand what... Ignition. My name is Marcus Coleman. I own Sunrise Kitchen. He lets that sit in the silence for a moment. Ignition. I've been watching you rob Angela Brooks for the past week. Ignition. The coffee pot slips from Angela's hand and shatters against the tile. Ignition. Nobody moves to clean it up. Mr. Coleman, I can explain. Ignition. Explain stealing $200 from her last week alone. Ignition. Marcus holds up his phone, recordings already queued. Explain telling Cody that her tips are basically your profit margin. Ignition. Explain the write-ups you admitted out loud were never even real. Ignition. That conversation it was theoretical for training. Ignition. He presses play. Denise's own voice fills the dining room. These girls make more in tips than they're worth. Ignition. Her tips are basically profit margin that should go back into running this place, not some single mom's shopping money. Ignition. Angela's knees buckle. She grabs the counter to steady herself. Ignition. You're really the owner. I am. Marcus looks at her, and his voice softens for the first time all morning. Ignition. And I'm sorry it took me this long to see what's been happening to you. Ignition. Denise tries indignation next. I have managed this location for 6 years. Ignition. My numbers are the best in the district. I've never had a single complaint. Ignition. Because you threatened to fire anyone who made one. Marcus plays the second clip. Ignition. If she ever tries anything, I've already got 3 write-ups in her folder. Ignition. None of it's even real. The remaining color drains from Denise's face entirely. Ignition. Those amount to wage theft, document fraud, and retaliation under federal labor law, Marcus continues. Ignition. All of it documented, all of it on tape. Ignition. You can't do this to me. I built this location's numbers. Ignition. You built this location's numbers by stealing from the woman who actually does the work. Ignition. Marcus turns to face the room customers, frozen mid-bite. Walter standing in the kitchen doorway. Brianna staring with her hand pressed to her mouth. Ignition. Everyone here deserves to know what happened in this restaurant. Ignition. Denise Carter has been stealing tips from Angela Brooks for months, using fake company policy as cover and threatening her job every time she came close to resisting. Ignition. Angela, Denise turns, desperate now. Tell him this is a misunderstanding. Ignition. Tell him we had an arrangement. We had no ignition. Angela's voice shakes, but it holds. You stole my money and made me feel crazy every single time I noticed. Ignition. Denise's composure finally cracks all the way open. You ungrateful, this job was charity. Ignition. I could fire you tomorrow and nobody would even care. Ignition. That's enough. Marcus's voice goes flat and final. Ignition. Denise Carter, you're terminated, effective this moment. Security will walk you out. Ignition. Your things will be mailed to you. You can't fire me without due process. Ignition. You have the right to remain silent, Marcus says, because the next conversation you need to worry about is with the police, regarding criminal wage theft and fraud. Ignition. Two customers start clapping. Within seconds, the whole dining room joins in for Angela, for the year she spent absorbing all of this, with a smile on her face because she had no other choice. Ignition. Denise grabs her bag and bolts for the door, pausing at the threshold for one last empty threat about wrongful termination before disappearing into the parking lot. Ignition. Marcus turns to Angela, who stands frozen, tears finally falling freely now that there's no reason left to hide them. Ignition. We need to talk about your future here, he tells her. Ignition. First, you're owed restitution. By my count, roughly $850 stolen from you this month alone. Ignition. He pulls out his checkbook and writes quickly, then hands her a check for $500. Ignition. This covers what was taken, plus damages, plus something extra for everything you put up with that you shouldn't have had to. Ignition. Angela stares at the number, hands trembling. I don't know what to say. Ignition. Say you'll cash it today, so Maya gets her medicine and your rent's covered on time. Ignition. He turns to the room. From today forward, every single employee at every Sunrise Kitchen location has a direct line to me personally if they ever witness anything like what happened here. Ignition. No retaliation, no runaround, direct to the top. He writes his number on a stack of napkins and hands them out to the staff. Ignition. To Walter, you watched this happen and felt powerless to stop it. Ignition. That's not a character flaw, that's what fear does. You're head cook now, with a raise and supervisory authority in this kitchen. Ignition. To Brianna, senior server training pay, and a say in how new hires get treated going forward. Ignition. In the weeks that followed, the story did not stay contained inside one diner on Cascade Road. Ignition. Marcus ordered an internal audit across all 41 Sunrise Kitchen locations, cross-referencing tip pool reports against shift logs and customer transaction data going back 18 months. Ignition. Two more managers in two different cities were found running smaller versions of the exact same scheme, one in Macon, one in Charlotte, both terminated within the month, both referred to their state labor boards for criminal review. Ignition. Patricia Coles, the regional director who had praised Denise's efficiency, was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into whether she had ever asked a single real question about how those numbers got so low. Ignition. A new compliance position was created specifically to audit Tip Distribution Company wide, reporting directly to Marcus's office, no exceptions, no buffer layer of middle management standing between a server's complaint and the person who could actually act on it. Ignition. Denise Carter was charged with theft by deception and wage theft under Georgia law. Ignition. Renata Diaz handled the civil side personally, securing back pay restitution not just for Angela but for 3 other servers at the same location who had been too afraid to come forward until they learned someone from finally believed them. Ignition. Then, to Angela, I'm offering you assistant manager of this location starting today. Ignition. $48,000 a year, full benefits, and you keep every tip you earn on the floor. Ignition. Angela's mouth opens, closes. I'm just a server. I don't have management experience. Ignition. You've got 3 years of handling every kind of customer, every kind of crisis, and you did it while somebody was actively trying to break you. Ignition. That's not nothing. That's exactly the kind of person I want running a room. Ignition. I want to learn it right, Angela says quietly, steadying herself. Ignition. I want to do this well. You'll get full training starting Monday. Ignition. But first, you're taking the rest of this week off, paid, because what happened to you was real. It deserves more than a Tuesday turnaround. Ignition. 3 weeks later, Marcus returns in his regular suit, no disguise needed this time. Ignition. The diner looks different before he even steps inside fresh paint. A new sign in the window reading Employee Protected Workplace. Tip jars on every table now clear glass, each one labeled. Tips go directly to your server. Ignition. Management never touches this jar. Guaranteed. Angela meets him at the door, standing taller than he remembers, her uniform fitting like it belongs to her now instead of just covering her. Ignition. Mr. Coleman, your booth's open, she grins. Coffee's on the house today. Ignition. Least we can do for the man who got our sanity back. Ignition. She walks him through everything that's changed. A new prep schedule Walter designed that cut food waste by 15%. A training program Brianna built for the 3 new hires who all say unprompted that this is the best service job they've ever had. Ignition. How's Maya's? Angela's whole face lights up. Ignition. She tells everybody at school her mom's a manager now. Ignition. Drew us a picture together. It's hanging in my office. Ignition. Are you happy? He asks. She doesn't hesitate. Ignition. Happier than I've been in a long. Ignition. 6 months later, Marcus sits in the same booth where this whole thing started, reading a business write-up about Sunrise Kitchen's record employee retention numbers. Ignition. Angela approaches with coffee and an envelope. Special delivery, she says. Ignition. From Maya. Inside is a child's drawing 2 stick figures and a little girl with pigtails, captioned in careful 7-year-old handwriting. Thank you for helping my mom be brave. Ignition. Marcus folds the card and slides it into his jacket pocket, the same pocket where he still keeps a faded photo of his mother in her own server's apron, decades ago, in a diner that no longer exists. Ignition. District manager position's treating you all right? He asks. It's everything, Angela says. Ignition. Last month I helped a server going through almost exactly what I went through. Ignition. Watching her get promoted, that's the whole reason any of this matters. Ignition. Through the window, the morning crowd moves in and out, the same rhythm as any other diner in any other city, except here, nobody is afraid, and nobody's dignity has a price tag on it that someone else gets to set. Ignition. Every person who serves you a meal, fixes your car, or cleans your office deserves the same thing: to be seen, to be paid honestly, and to be treated like their work matters. Ignition. Because it does. If this story meant something to you, hit like and subscribe for more stories about justice, courage, and the quiet power of doing what's right when no one's watching. Ignition. Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction created for entertainment and educational purposes only. Ignition. All characters, names, businesses, and events depicted are entirely fictional and do not represent any real person, living or dead, or any actual establishment. Ignition. Any resemblance to real persons, organizations, or events is purely coincidental. Ignition. This content is intended to explore themes of human dignity, workplace ethics, and social justice through narrative storytelling. Ignition. It does not make factual claims about any individual, company, or institution.